Calvin and Hobbes, they have all sorts of nice little cartoons, especially in maths. Can you read it? Here's the little one, that's Calvin, isn't it? And the tiger is Hobbes, is that right?
Not in the two news.
Not really? Calvin's saying, I wish this sled had a speedometer so we could find out how fast we're going. And Hobbes says, well, I suppose we could measure the hill, time our descent, calculate a rate in feet per minute, and convert that into miles per hour. And Calvin says, that sounds like math. Hobbes says, yes. Suddenly I stopped caring. That's the irrelevance. Let me talk about two articles that I've put up on LearnLine. And I'd really encourage you, in fact I'm asking you, please, to read the two articles. They're just called Reading 1 and Reading 2 up there, and they're in the wrong order because I haven't worked out how to put them in the right order yet and swap them around, but I'll work on that. This is the first one, Richard Skemp. He's a big name in mathematics education. He wrote an article in 1976 called Relational and Instrumental Understanding. It was the article that completely changed the way I thought about teaching maths, because suddenly what was happening in my classroom made sense to me. In the article, Skemp talks about faux amis. Those of you who can speak French will know that that stands for false friends. Things that mean something in one context but maybe something different in a different context, or maybe things that can be misinterpreted. He talked about two particular false friends in the context of the mathematics classroom. One was what he called, one was understanding, and the other was the nature of mathematics itself. So let's say a little bit about understanding. Skemp talked about two different types of understanding, and he called them instrumental and relational. Instrumental is knowing how. So we could have told you how to do that question. It's a pretty pointless question once you know how to do it, but we could have told you how to do it. We spend a lot of time in classes telling children and showing children how to add up, how to do fractions, how to measure things, how to do all sorts of stuff like that. We spend a lot of time developing those skills, and they're important. There's nothing wrong with developing skills. We spend a little bit less time, I think, on what Skemp calls relational understanding, which is knowing why. So why do you do these things when you add up or multiply and so on? When I was teaching, that's what my kids said. And it drove me insane when I first started teaching. They said, just tell me how to do it, I don't care why. Not interested in why, I just want to know the answer. Just show me what to do. And I got so infuriated because I thought mathematics was about understanding why, mostly, and a lot of the children thought it was actually understanding how. Here's a comparison of the two types of understanding. If you just show kids how to do something, one of the examples Skemp uses is the area of a rectangle, which is length times width. It is really easy to explain the area of a rectangle is length times width. You can get very quick answers, because if I told you a rectangle was 7 centimetres by 2 centimetres, you could work out that the area was 14 square centimetres. I can teach it in 10 seconds. I can remember it for a little while, but it doesn't fit with anything else. It's kind of an isolated skill. On the other hand, if I take some time to work with rectangular shapes and look at how rectangular shapes are made from unit squares and all that sort of thing, it takes longer, much harder to learn, but in the end it's easy to remember. It has its own reward. When you really understand something, that actually feels good. It feels much better to understand something deeply than it does to look up the answer in the back of the book and say, yeah, I got that right. It actually has its own reward, understanding something. It takes longer to achieve, as I said, but it's adaptable and you can use the kind of ways of looking at it for something different. it works on long-term memory and it builds on itself, so you kind of get this organic system of understanding things and the connections between them.